Welcome back to another episode of the Lehigh Valley Prospects Field Hockey Podcast presented by Smith Sports Media. I'm your host, LJ Smith, and I have the pleasure of being joined by Caitlin Hoover, the Oswego State Field Hockey coach. Caitlin, thank you so much for spending some time with me this afternoon.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
I'm very excited to tell your story, talk about your journey to now becoming the Lakers head field hockey coach. So, Caitlin, let's dive right in. When did you first learn about the sport of field hockey?
Probably around fourth, fifth grade, like the little rec camps that parents are like, oh, you have to go, get you out of the house during the summer. It's like free babysitting, but costs money. So that was the first step into it. And then thankfully there was a parent within my grade in the county, because where I'm from is very small, and she kind of stepped in and took over. Her daughter is the same grade as me, so she was like, you know what, let's get it rolling. So all of us kind of joined in and continued from there.
Awesome. So talk about where did you grow up first off?
All right, so Thompsontown, PA, super small, so there's 4 towns of us that go into one high school. We graduate with 80 kids, so it's not easy to find on a map. So smack dab between Harrisburg and State College in the cornfields is the easy way to explain it.
Okay. So introduced 4th, 5th grade, rec level stuff. When did you find the love for field hockey? Was it that early on? Were you interested in other sports growing up as well? What kind of drew you to field hockey?
I don't think I actually made the turn for field hockey till my senior year of high school, which is probably really weird with now my career where it's at. I did basketball, soccer, field hockey, track and field all through high school. And even my junior year of high school didn't play field hockey. I was gearing towards basketball for college and everything. I did AAU year round, all the good stuff from 7th grade up. And then kind of hitting my senior year of high school, my season just ended. And I didn't realize I'd have the feelings I had about it. And I was like, I don't want this to end. That's kind of when the real love hit me, this might actually be the one, and not basketball.
Okay. And coming to terms with that, having the capability of playing so many sports in high school, how influential was that to make a decision? I know we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but being able to make a decision to play one sport in college, you have such a small class, you have that capability of playing multiple sports.
Yeah, I think it was just kind of the realization of you're not going to be able to play more than one in college. One, you're not that good. 2, that just doesn't happen. You need to kind of focus in and settle in of what do you want to do going forward? Which one do you enjoy more, or which one were you doing just because you thought you had to do it because you put so much time and effort into it?
Field hockey, back to that being introduced rather at a young age. Did anyone influence you to play? You mentioned the parent of a friend, but is there anyone that allowed you to stick with it, kind of forced you to stick with it?
Parents were really open about it. My mom played in high school, so she was always yeah, at least try it. But there was never a force to stay within it. They're all right, if you enjoy it, continue to do it. And lucky enough, I just did stick with it as they traveled me back and forth from basketball all the time. Then they're oh, but you have field hockey practice in there too. You can't just quit that. You signed up. So it's just more of the usual, yep, you signed up, you got to finish it out.
So playing so many sports throughout high school and not realizing the love of field hockey, you mentioned AAU basketball, you're doing track and field, all of these other sports. When field hockey season ended, did you have that love for the sport when you missed it the most, or did that not happen until your senior year?
Didn't happen until my senior year. Before I was oh, yeah, it's over. Okay, I'll see you again next fall. We'd play indoor and do fun tournaments throughout the summer, but it was just always just a fun thing to do. Where when I looked at basketball, I was oh, I have to get better. I have to do this. So yeah, it really didn't hit me till I was oh, it's done. That was the sport.
You're done with field hockey your senior year. You have basketball season. You have track and field. That senior year process of you want to play in college, you want to play a sport in college because you're playing so many. So how did you kind of define field hockey was it, but then what was that recruiting experience like going on from that point?
Oh, it was the most traditional recruiting experience ever. I had no idea what I was doing in any capacity. I had zero film because I was I don't plan to do anything with this sport. We don't need to film anything. And so the film I had was playing in an adult league, which is just for fun. So it looks nothing like what I would have actually done. I'm kind of going for looking for schools with my major. I went for sports management and I knew that's what I wanted. Didn't realize not that many schools actually had that at the time when I was looking. So that's what kind of narrowed it down for me. But then it was more of will you give me a chance? Because I don't have anything to prove to you that like I'm worth it.
Okay, that's fair. That's kind of a challenging spot you put yourself in because you realize you love field hockey. You have other opportunities. I'm assuming, were you looking at other schools for other sports other than field hockey up to this point?
Yeah, I was looking for basketball up to that point. I was like, where will I fit?
So making that transition from basketball to field hockey and finding a school that had the major you were looking for, how important was it for you to step foot on different campuses?
By the time I was done with tours, I was done with tours. I've been on
Okay.
so many, but it like helped me realize what I wanted. Like the big schools were not it. That was for sure. It couldn't be too small because I was like, this feels like I'm still in high school. So kind of getting out and like seeing what campus felt like, but also what coaches were willing to like answer me and be like, hey, like, yeah, well, at least like talk and meet with you kind of brought it all together.
And you get to that point, you finish your senior year of high school. Where did you end up?
Ended up at East Stroudsburg University. The Sandy Miller was like, you know what? We'll give you a shot.
That's awesome. So you go into East Stroudsburg University. What was that experience like stepping on a collegiate field? You're about to play college field hockey. What's going through your mind in that time?
I was nervous as all get out. I was like, do I actually like, should I be here? Should I just leave now? Most of the girls in my class were recruited. Like they already seen you play. You have scholarships. And I was like, I'm a walk-on. They don't know that. And that's even more scary. Just be like, should I actually be here? Like, will I be okay?
And I feel that's a very real conversation you have to have with yourself. You mentioned the recruiting process, not really knowing field hockey recruiting because you're going for basketball, but thinking about what your athletes go through now, how important it was to take your own advice. You're telling them, learning from your past experiences. So you go to East Stroudsburg, you have that fear of stepping on the field, all those things go into it. What was your playing career like with the Warriors at East Stroudsburg?
It was a time, say injury prone is limited. Went in freshman year, normal freshman year. Tear my ACL going into sophomore year, like 3 weeks before preseason. So we were out all sophomore year, fall and spring, because we just didn't get back. Finally cleared going into junior year. Have surgery again that October because stuff wasn't correct, for lack of better terms.
Okay.
Now we're finally on the up and up. I'm running normal. Everything's good. We head into a fun indoor tournament junior year. Break my finger. That needs surgery. A pin put in it. So we're out for the most of spring junior year. Get back for like the last couple weeks. Then finally senior year hits and there's no injuries and senior season goes off.
Wow. So the mental fortitude you had to endure all that and still be in the right mindset to be what coaches deem a good teammate. So what went into that side of thing as well? Because that's just as important to be a good and quality teammate if you can't contribute on the field.
Yeah. I mean, Sandy was great about it because like she didn't have to keep me. Let's be real. She could have been like, you know what? You were a walk-on. We don't have space for you, which would have been understandable. But her allowing me to stay and like take the chance was like huge for me because I'm like, okay, she gave me a spot here. You need to do what you can do the best of your ability to kind of prove that you do still belong here and you are being a help.
Yeah, and credit to Coach Sandy. She's excellent. I had the privilege of covering 2 of their games this past fall, and still going into the PSAC tournament as well. So just amazing all around. The idea of being a part of the team, and obviously injury plague, but also playing your senior year. What was that like to kind of bring everything together? Did it solidify your love for the sport, even though injuries happen? How was that like going into your senior year, knowing that this was probably the last year you're playing field hockey?
Yeah, I think that's what like dawned on me to like kind of look at it after graduation. Do you really want to be done? Do you feel like you fulfilled what you were looking for? Obviously not with that running plague of mishaps, but it just kind of like brought it all together. Like you did what you set out to do just on a different pathway.
Yeah, and having that mindset of being open to that, because you could have an injury and you could shut down, and that whole woe is me. Not saying it doesn't happen normally. Everyone has to go through that as well, but being able to endure that, still be a good teammate, and be a part of a program that's very well known as well. And taking that into your senior year, you finally able to play. What was that like stepping foot on field?
It was like you had like freshman jitters because it was like, oh my gosh, I am a freshman kind of, which I think was funny. And my other teammates and friends in my senior class also were like, this is your little time to like have that moment. It was just finally that moment of like, you've done it.
The culmination of being
Yeah.
able to say, yes, this is me. I'm a part of this program. I can make an impact on the field as well. And what happened after graduation? Did you have plans to go into coaching? Did you have a degree? You obviously graduated with a degree. So what was that life like after graduation? What was that vision that you had?
I had zero vision. I was in an internship my spring semester at the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. So it was like career season long. And I was like, all right. It was like coming towards the end of it. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do. It's definitely not minor league baseball. I knew that after that internship, just because that schedule's not for me. And I look at my schedule now and I'm like, well, that's a horrible reason. My mom was on it and she's like, well, here's a field hockey assistant job. Like, why don't you apply? And I was like, I'm not qualified for that, but sure, let me just like send it in. And it was just kind of like on a whim. I had no idea that's what I wanted to do. I coached U10 my senior spring for a little club team in East Stroudsburg. U10's definitely different than college.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
could you could bribe them with candy. It was easy. It was great. And then, yeah, I just kind of took a leap on it. I was like, well, let's see what happens.
No other vision of doing a normal job. You've had the coaching bug. You wanted to get right into it. What was the first coaching job you landed? Was it a college job? You mentioned U10, but was it a high school job? Was it a college job? What did that look like?
So first, like, coaching job would be the U10. I was still in college, so my senior year of it. And that was just for my spring season. And then right after graduation, I applied to Washington and Jefferson College, their assistant position, and expecting nothing in return. Literally nothing. And I get a phone call from the random number, area code. I have no idea where it's from. And she's like, you applied? Like, do you want to talk about your application right now? I'm sitting in the gym because I just answered because it was a random number. And I was like, yeah, just give me 5 minutes. I was like, run outside so there's not everything else going on in the background.
Wow, that's impressive. So you're able to have an opportunity at Washington and Jefferson the year after you graduate, correct? So like what was that like jumping into what you were as a player to now having coaching responsibilities and roles as a coach?
It was different. Jamar Codlin was the coach at the time. She was amazing, and she just like laid it all out there. She's like, I'm offensive minded, you're defensive minded, so that's why you're here. And I was like, okay. And she's like, this is what we do, this is what we're doing. I was like, okay, just like direct me, please. 'Cause I was like, I have no idea. I didn't know the ins and outs. I didn't know like all the background stuff of it. And she was great. She just threw me in. It was like kind of a sink or swim moment. Thank goodness she allowed me to swim.
That's great. Having the opportunity to learn from somebody that's going to have you take your own role and responsibility, obviously you being more defensive minded, being able to have that responsibility and know that they trust you. And it takes time to build that for sure. But then learning all the good, the bad, the indifferent from a head coach and building that into your repertoire and your resume, which led you to another coaching position, correct? So where did you
Yeah.
end up after Washington and Jefferson?
So after Washington and Jefferson, I made my way to Mansfield University, got myself back in the PSAC, back to the Division II. It was kind of like, you're back home.
Yes, and that's excellent. So what was it like being back in a familiar space for yourself, being in the PSAC, being and facing other quality programs in Division II? What was that experience like going from Washington and Jefferson to Mansfield?
Well, once I finally knew who the teams were in the PSAC, like, and I was at Washington and Jefferson, I was Googling everything. I was like, I've never heard of you, but I got to find like everything out. And then when I finally got back, I was like, I know these coaches, I know the players. Like, it didn't feel as out of sorts. So that was great. I took that job in 2020. So it was prime COVID time.
Okay.
So that first year was just probably a little out of sorts. We practiced like virtually. So we didn't even have competition or anything. So it did give me the year to also get my feet back under me of, all right, this is like where we're at and what we're doing.
Yeah, a blessing and a curse, one may say, for the idea of maybe not having a competitive season, but you're able to build those relationships with your student athletes, the coaching staff, being able to regenerate all of that going into what a normal season would be going into the next season. So you take those opportunities. You're at Mansfield until 2023, which leads you now to where you're at now. So talk about that experience from Mansfield and then garnering a head coaching job.
So spent the 2.5 years there, 3 seasons. It was great. Britt Hansroth, she, again, just kind of gave me the reins, was like, this is what you're going to do. And she's like, what is your goal? And I was like, well, I think I want to be a head coach. And she's like, all right, well, how are we going to get you there? So she helped tremendously. And now we are at SUNY Oswego making the trip to upstate New York. Lovely weather. Just don't come in the winter. It's been I transitioned for sure, kind of going from like that assistant coach role to like establishing what you want and like the culture and insight of like what you're hoping to bring. Definitely has been like the newest piece that I've been trying to work out yet.
So taking a head coaching role, that's no undertaking. You've learned from some great individuals and now you're taking the reins yourself. How important was it for you to learn and be vulnerable with these other coaches you've learned from, but then also taking that time to be vulnerable with yourself and be like, all right, now this is what I have to do to become what I expect to be a good head coach?
Yeah, it was a time. Many phone calls happened, many texts, many Zooms, a lot of things. I was struggled with, should I be here yet? Are you ready? Everyone's like, yeah, you got this. Like, you'll be fine. Luckily, I came into a program that was like receptive of what are you looking to do? I had to say I was blessed with that because I don't know that I would get that everywhere.
And that's huge, knowing that you had people to lean on and you trusted people in this very small knit community of what field hockey is, being able to bounce ideas off of, make you feel like you're worth being a part of this coaching staff in Division 2, 3, wherever you are. You have such a cool responsibility to be a leader of student athletes and even other coaches. So thinking about yourself in an assistant role, what would you tell your assistant self now that you're a head coach? Would you do anything differently?
I mean, I feel like I would be like, don't complain about it. Like, what you're doing is worth it. I remember looking back at like all these like late hours of nights and like doing like random tasks. And I was like, why do I got to do this? Now I'm like, this is why, because now you are prepared of whatever's thrown your way. They weren't doing it because they didn't want to do it. They were giving it to you because like you needed to learn it.
That's such a cool moment of understanding, reflecting back on how important all these little nuanced things you did as an assistant coach now coming to full fruition of understanding what it meant now that you're the head coach. Thank you for tuning in to the Lehigh Valley Prospects podcast presented by Smith Sports Media. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel searching Lehigh Valley Prospects Podcast. You can stream the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts searching Lehigh Valley Prospects Podcast. Follow us on social media on Instagram at LV Prospects Podcast, on X at LV Prospects, and on Facebook at Lehigh Valley Prospects Podcast. Until next time, I'm your host, LJ Smith, signing off.